Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of I'm Working On It with the very special guest, Mr. Lee Sayat. And real quick before we get started and head into the episode, the podcast is available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, everywhere you get your podcasts. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes and tell a friend, and subscribe on YouTube. You can also get all the information on my Instagram at Matt P. Brown. And the podcast Instagram is IWOI Podcast. And now that all that shit is out of the way, sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode with the one and only Lee Sayat. All right, welcome everybody to this week's episode of I'm Working On It. And we have our return guest, third time. You know him from the What Was I Thinking podcast. And of course, back in the day, the church. Everybody, Lee Sayat.
Hey, buddy. It's good to be back.
Dude,
third time's a charm.
So, yes, exactly. I'm so happy to have you back, man. Just have a conversation and chill and talk and catch up on life. And
Absolutely.
I got to do like a frame thing of the first time I had you on and now. It literally looks like I'm talking to a different human being.
That's great. What do you remember when I was on the first time?
The first time, let me think, maybe like February.
Okay, yeah, I was only like at most 50 pounds down. So like I'm not exactly sure, but do you know when this will come out?
This will be out Wednesday. I'm gonna see what time
Okay.
the first time you were on was, because I think it was actually even before that.
Oh wow. Because yeah, if this comes out Wednesday, then yesterday I weigh in every Tuesday, and unless something went drastically wrong. I did have a little bit of cake today because it was my uncle's birthday, but unless something went drastically wrong, I'll be 100 pounds down.
Oh my, dude, that's amazing. 100 pounds.
Hopefully, yeah, we'll find out. I mean, I still got like 80-ish pounds probably.
Right. So your goal was 180. Sorry, I was looking here to see when you were first.
No worries.
On.
No, my goal is like
January 13th.
Oh wow. So yeah, I was like a month and a half into it. So I was probably down like 20, 30 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah, my goal is, it's weird. If I get down to 136, that's 200 pounds. I don't think I'll get there because like I'm short, but 136 is still pretty light for me.
Yeah,
especially
that's
if I'm gonna have a lot of loose
light.
skin. Yeah. If I could get down to like 145 and then like be between 150 to 160 tops, like when I'm eating what I want to eat, that's doable. Like, how tall are you? You're like what, probably 5'8", 5'10"?
I'm 6 feet.
Son of a bitch.
5'8", 5'10".
Yeah. How much do you weigh? Like 180?
No, I weigh like 160. Yeah, I'm a rail.
God. See? See, yeah, exactly. So if you're 160, I'm like 8 inches shorter than you. How am I going to be 160?
Yeah, but people carry that shit differently, and I also look like a twig.
Trust me, I don't carry it well. I don't. It's not like, no. You're gonna be a sexy 160. Well, so if I like my goal, like realistic goal, because like, and I'm not talking shit about them. I'm very impressed with Ethan Suplee and Action Bronson. I think they're doing amazing. But I'm not gonna. John Panette had a joke in one of my favorite specials of all time. If you ever go, it used to be on YouTube, so it might still be there. It's called I Say Nay Nay. It's fucking hysterical. His joke in it where people tell him that he's gonna get addicted to working out, and he goes, "I don't think so. I think I can stop this working out thing whenever I want to. I'm not gonna end up in the workout wing of the Betty Ford clinic doing jumping jacks. I want to stop, but I can't stop." I love that special so much, but I don't think I'm gonna turn into like a Action Bronson doing kettlebell swings on the roof. If I could get down to like, you know how most people say if they lose 20 pounds, they'll be in like really good shape?
Yeah.
That's where I want to be.
Okay.
Like that would be great. I'd like to be, so like I'll be 230, at least 236 or below will be 100 pounds. And that'll be on Tuesday. My next goal is to get under 200. And then after that, we'll see.
Dude, that's so inspiring. It really is. And if you can lose that much weight like you have, I don't think that you'll end up being, if I lose 20 pounds. I think you're going to just be exactly where you want to be. Like, you've gone this far. I really
Yeah,
feel like you'll finish the race, is my point.
we'll see. Yeah, that's why like, I'm honestly not really hating it. I did say when I say I had cake, I had like 3 bites of fucking really good cake. I mean, you live in the area. It's called like Konditormeister. Like it's where they
Con-
got my bar mitzvah cake. I found out.
it sounds
It's a
like a
very
made up name.
no, it's a real place. It's heaven.
Konditormeister.
It like my aunt was cutting the cake, and she literally would. It was like a regular sized piece, but the cake was just so big and dense. Like she would cut it, and like it would fall to the plate, and like literally it would sound like a fucking rock was hitting the plate. It was fucking but I don't really feel like most of the times I've done diets before, like a month in, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to like every time I've done like low carb or like I did Nutrisystem a bunch of times.
Okay.
I hate my life like a week and a half into it. I would like to have some ice cream, and I miss pasta,
Mm-hmm.
but I could have them. The only reason I'm not having them is because there's too many calories. But I feel okay. I mean, I don't. I appreciate you saying it's inspiring.
It
It
really,
was
I genuinely mean that.
well, I appreciate it, but it wasn't very inspiring when I was eating fucking 2,000 calories worth of candy at 3 in the morning, fucking in my bed, fucking just so fat. But it's nice. Just like as I'm starting to like build my own business and stuff, it's nice to like see that I could do something like this
Yeah.
and like use it like right. And I've started to look at apartments. I'm probably not going to move out until like closer to the end of the year
Nice.
because like things are, but they're like slowly getting better. Um, and but it just it's this was not the year that I think any of us had planned, and it's
Definitely.
nice to. I wish I had started it in March of 2020 instead of December. I would be a lot closer to done, but I didn't, and it's just it's been nice to make at least for now it's working.
And you say closer to done, but isn't it realistically just a thing that you'll be working on and doing your whole life? You know?
Well, that's a bummer, man. Thank you very much.
No, I think
This
that
is this
that's
is never ending. No. You're 100% right, and I can't go back to the way I was eating at all. Um, but it I'm looking forward to being done with the lost part of it because
yeah.
I like if I could have another 500 to almost 800 calories a day, that's like that would change my whole day. I
Got
could have
it.
a lot more bread. I could have maybe the only sweets I have are like caramel rice cakes, and I have those like once a week. And
Wow.
I treat it yeah I treat it like it's fucking the like I'm at the buffet at the Taj Mahal. I don't even know. Yeah, by the way, have you seen? I just drove by it today, and this is only going to be important to the Boston people. But have you seen the Encore outside of Boston?
So I went there last weekend for the
Oh
first
yeah,
time to check it
was
out.
it fun?
It's
We
fine.
were driving today, and it just looked like the one in Vegas. It looked exactly like it.
It's huge. It looks like the sign and stuff looks old school Vegasy. Like it doesn't look like it's 2021 with the sign, but
Okay,
you can tell that they're gonna expand eventually because the hotel just towers over everything out there,
okay,
and the casino's nice. It's a little small-ish. I think that they'll definitely expand, but it was fine. It
were you
was
doing comedy or you just want to have fun?
no, my girlfriend and I, we went out to eat, and then while we were eating, I was like, "Hey, do you want to go check out Encore?" It wasn't even part of our plan, and we went and got a couple drinks and just like checked it out for a little bit. It's fine,
Okay,
yeah. I think
nice.
it's gonna get bigger, but
I
um,
miss Vegas. That's one thing I do miss about living in LA is that Vegas was so close. I used to love Vegas.
dude, I know I've never gone, and I really wish I did
You
in my
never went to
time out
Vegas?
there. No, and I will though. Do you gamble? Are you like
I did
cards or?
um I say the word a lot. For some people it's a lot. For a lot of like gamblers it was nothing. Over my 10 years in LA, I went a handful of times and like maybe I lost 5 grand total, which is like I'd love to have it. But I was pretty good about just taking out what I was comfortable losing,
Mm-hmm.
and not comfortable, but like I had a rule and I broke it like once or twice, but over like at least 10 trips, I think I only did it once or twice. I wouldn't go to the ATMs there because
Yeah.
they're like that's where you start like
Yeah.
you're just homeless in Vegas now.
And there's like a
Um,
$6 or $8 fee. It's wild.
oh yeah, well that upsets me too. But I mean, when you're losing hundreds of dollars, what's six
Yeah, it
bucks?
does exactly.
Um, but yeah, I went through a period where like I really enjoy. I didn't okay. So everyone has the same experience. When you go the first time, you're gonna win money. Like I went the first time and I stayed up because I love him. Actually, it's funny. Your dad probably knows him. I went with my buddies from the movie theater that I used to work at, and they're great guys. I love them, but they are not gamblers at all, and they're not really drinkers either. So we stayed at a nice hotel, and like they wanted like I was fat, but not like crazy fat, probably around what I am now, maybe. Um, and they wanted to like legitimately walk up and down the strip all day, and like after one day of doing that, my fucking feet had blisters on them. Like, because the problem with
Yeah.
the strip is it's not like a normal street where like you can like go on a sidewalk the whole way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it takes you through casinos and they all have malls in them. So it was like miles upon miles. And so I just started playing. I was like, hey guys, I'll see you for meals and stuff, but I want to actually do some fun Vegas stuff.
Yeah.
And I won some money playing blackjack, not much. Like,
Nice.
I paid for my trip and maybe a couple $100. So I went back like a few weeks later and I stayed like a shitty hotel. And I was like, I'm about to take down the Vegas. I'm gonna win. And of course I lost like $800. And like
Woo!
I lost a bunch of times. One time I booked a room and I lost all my money that I brought before I even like I had literally dropped my bags off at the room and went out to gamble and I lost all my money.
Dude.
And I literally just left the room. I didn't stay even one night. One time I switched my flight because I I ran out of money like the day before on like a Friday, and I was gonna not supposed to leave till like Saturday it was either Friday to Saturday or Saturday to Sunday, I forget. But I switched my flight and I got to the airport, and of course, no one's leaving Vegas at 8 o'clock at night on either a Friday or Saturday. And there was one dude behind me at TSA, and we just started talking. This is the only time I've ever done this. And he's like, "Do you want to grab a beer?" He said, I said, "Sure." He had been there and over the weekend had lost 8 grand.
Oh
So me
my
losing
god.
like 1,000 was nothing to him. But I had a lot of fun. I liked blackjack. That was my thing. Later on, I learned about Pai Gow, which is like a special kind of Asian poker, which is pretty fun because you get to scream Pai Gow. It's really fun. But it's weird because when I started comedy, like that urge completely left me. Like I got so bad before I started comedy that I would be getting scratch tickets and like literally like never won.
Mm-hmm.
So the adrenaline of winning of like gambling was very similar to the adrenaline of doing well and being nervous about comedy.
Yep.
And so like I even one time I opened for Joey at Foxwoods and we were there and I've been gambling and I went and gambled for like half an hour. I was like, I don't it's not as fun anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a long-winded answer of saying I used to gamble but not so much anymore.
Yeah, but I can relate to parts of that a lot because there is that thing with stand up and gambling and shit. And we should, if you'd ever want to go, we should do it because I play blackjack. That's like my game.
Oh yeah,
And
that's funny. I don't have it on me, but I was showing my aunt at the dinner table today that I still have it in my wallet. It's the card for that tells you when to hit or stay based off of what hand you have. I have it in
yeah,
my fucking wallet. It's fucking faded.
that's
But
great.
you like blackjack?
Blackjack, yep. And then I got in a big poker phase and I would go and play and I would do $1 $2 no limit. So you put in like $2 to play, but then everyone pretty much will throw in like $20. So it ends up getting kind of crazy sometimes.
Right.
And I remember
Do you like poker?
I
I tried it a couple times and it would bum me out. Blackjack, everyone's high five and it's fun.
right.
At poker, there everyone's pissed off. You like fuck. Like,
It's patience. Like you kind of just got to sit there and hope to win a couple big hands.
yeah, I don't have that.
But I don't really play that too much anymore. And I remember one day I was there, and everyone's like playing, and this one dude comes and sits down, and you wait. You can wait for other tables, and like you put your name in, and while you wait, you can go play other games. And this dude sits down, and he just starts betting $100 every time. He's like getting cards, and he's just high betting people out. I'm like, what's this guy's problem? And then he's going in again. People are like chasing him, and then he's like $500. And the table, it's a $1 to $2 table. So like $100 is a big, huge bet there, and he's doing it every hand, and then 500, and then he's just out betting people just to get him out to win. And then finally, there's a $5, $10 table, and those hands get up to like thousands sometimes. And they say, you know, whatever his name is, like Bob Smith, to the 510, and he stands up. And when he stands up, he moves to the side, and I'm like, oh, he's going to a big game. That's why he was betting like that. And he goes like that, and there was a rack of like 10 grand at least in his pocket. It had the 10 grand wrap from the bank on it, and there was other money in there. And I was like, holy shit. You never know who you're playing in these games.
Yeah.
And that was a big
God.
wake-up call. Just getting up and just to see it swing in his pocket, I was like, holy shit, you got to really keep your head on the swivel at this.
And that's the way to do it. Like, that's how you win money. I never saw anything like that crazy. I was at the Stratosphere once, and I was playing blackjack, and this dude came with that wrapped 10,000. And I don't know why he didn't just go to the cashier. He was kind of a dick. He brought it to the table, and it was a $15-$20 table. I didn't play high stakes.
Yeah.
He threw it down, and they had to count it out like they do.
Right.
It took fucking like 15 minutes, but it was just badass. Like that would be fun if I ever got like I don't know if you've heard of the stories of like Dana White and Ben Affleck getting kicked out of casinos because like they win too much or whatever.
Yep.
Like, if I ever had enough money to put down 15-20 grand in a night and like not care if I win or lose it,
yeah,
like that would be fun.
Yeah,
playing
absolutely.
$15 a hand is kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah. So when you were talking earlier about, you know, your weight loss and the stuff that you're doing, what do you notice any difference in how you feel, like a day to day? Is it just energy? Are you sleeping better? Do you feel better about yourself? Like, what are you feeling since this weight loss? Because it's really crazy, dude. It's really awesome.
It's funny. I got that question a lot, and we had a guy in the church very early on who was a big dude, but then became a bodybuilder. And I asked him if he ever like felt different at all, like, or if he just felt like the say like not even like physically, but like just like in your like eyes, like. And he said no, like I feel almost exactly the same.
Wow.
I am sleeping a little bit better. I feel like I used to snore a lot, and I still snore, but not crazy anymore. And then the only thing that I noticed was, and I looked it up because I thought I was dying. I had like a little bit of like numbness on the side of my right leg, and then when I got home, right when I was starting to diet, like it would burn, like if I like was standing up for too long.
Interesting.
And then like if I would rate, it would like really hurt. And that is completely gone.
Do you think it was a lack of like blood flow or something?
Yeah, they were saying it was basic. I forget the word. I looked it up a bunch of times. It was basically there was just like a lot of fat around the nerve.
Okay.
But I feel a lot better about myself. I actually started literally like last night, just started like officially dating a girl.
Oh, nice. Congrats.
So yeah. Well, it's been like fucking like 3 to 4 years. Yeah, I like the way I look a lot better. I know I'm gonna hit it, so it's like a little bit anticlimactic, but I've done this a bunch of times before, and I've never hit the 100 pounds down, I'd always stop around like 80, somewhere
Mm-hmm.
70. So the 100 number is gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's weird. Like you would think I'd feel like a new person, and I'm happy with the number going down, and I am feeling a little bit better, but I still, which is kind of fucked up, I still feel like basically like the same person. It'll be I I haven't been like 150 since like eighth or ninth grade.
Wow.
So if I can get down to that, that'll be pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I'll see if I can fit into my bar mitzvah suit, which I probably can. I'm probably the same exact fucking height. But yeah, I mean, you've been skinny your whole life. You never got a little chubby.
I had one phase. I was 30 pounds heavier than now. I
Okay.
didn't hit 200, but I was right around it. And
Isn't 200 like what you're supposed to be?
I actually looked it up because I got nervous that I didn't weigh enough. And 162 is like where you're supposed to be. But I'm
At
like, no
60?
one's that. Like, if we walked around, no, how skinny every 6 foot guy would be. And
Yeah,
it goes up
right.
to like 188 or something like that, or
And what's your
198. I forget.
what's your like what do you attribute it to? Because I know like you're a pretty active person. Is that it, or like what? Why? How do
Yeah.
you stick to this? Do you not like food? Do you just eat like? Do you like enjoy salads? Like what's going on? How do you do it?
No, I think I'm just it's naturally what I am. And
So,
my fear is that I'm gonna be that skinny fat where you're skinny but inside internally, like you think you're fine, then you go to the doctor and they're like, no, you this blood sugar's messed up, you got a high cholesterol, you got all this, because I'm just naturally thin. But
okay.
yeah, I'm
You want to put if you want
insanely
to put on
active.
weight, I can help you with that. As long as you're not picky on if it's muscle or fat, I can really help you with that.
No, but I've been crazy active my whole life, and I think that's a huge part of it too.
Yeah.
Just
Look, you're wearing like Adidas fucking sweats. Like you could go on a run right now. You probably just got back from a run.
this is the Boston fuck you
Oh, okay.
zippy, and no,
Yeah.
I got this every time I put it on. I feel like I'm back in Boston for some reason.
Really?
But yeah, that's not why I got it. I just like the style. But
Yeah, it looks good.
thanks. Um, do you think this is a big key factor to what you're doing? And it might even sound stupid, but I really think your life that is created, no matter how much people want to admit it or not, and of course, there's always like things you can't control, like a tragedy can happen or something incredible you never could have planned for can happen. But do you think, for the most part, what you're doing is your mindset? Like, if you didn't change your mind and go, okay, I'm gonna be this, like I'm gonna lose 100 pounds, you wouldn't have. And I really think that there is so much power within our mind that we don't even realize, that's subconscious and that's there. And as hard as it is, the more often we make it positive, and like, I'm gonna go do good on this show, I'm gonna write jokes, I'm gonna lose 100 pounds, the more that we do that shit, I really think that that can kind of turn our life into a more positive thing. As hard, it's just not fucking easy to do, but do you think that contributes to it?
It's almost exactly what you just said. I I've never been good at like my first thought of anything is like the worst case scenario.
Right.
So I think you're 100% right. I struggle though with being positive. So what I have found is sort of like not even, I guess it's like only halfway, but I do better mentally and in life when I'm busy.
Yeah.
Because if I just, and I love hanging out and doing nothing. And I'm like, there's a lot of people who do a lot more than me, but like I'm fairly busy right now. I have enough to do a decent day. Um, if I do that, I do better. Like if I like, I don't know, like when I knew your dad, I used to like when I was working minimum wage jobs that when it was really busy because the time would go by a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
If it was dead, it like you'd be sitting there like it's been 4 hours, right? And you look up, it's been 6 minutes. You're like,
Yeah.
mother. Um, so I probably could benefit, and I actually just had a last week's episode, or I guess 2 weeks ago, um, episode was I had a positivity coach on my podcast, and I could be definitely a more positive person, but yeah, I just try to be busy, and I definitely made the decision to like lose weight, but I just I I'm not good. Like I don't really have cheat days. On Tuesdays when I weigh in, I give myself a few hundred more. That's why I can have the caramel rice cakes, and maybe I'll get like a wing. I've gotten wings like twice. Um, but like I'm not good with too much looseness. Like if I have a cheat day, like I'm just it's like an alcoholic having like a sip of a beer. If I have a
Right.
cheat day where like I get to do whatever the fuck I want, I'm probably gonna end up getting $20 worth of McDonald's twice a day again and just putting this all back on and probably killing myself. Not like on purpose, but like
Right.
it won't it's not good to be the size I was. So yeah, I think you're right, man. I don't know how do you like is it hard for you to be positive? I'm not good at that.
So a couple things. Like first, when you mention like if you give yourself a cheat day, all of a sudden you'll be eating all the McDonald's. I have a thing very similar to that. I don't know if it's like part of the comic brain or just people, whatever. But like if I get Dunkin' Donuts, I like Dunkin's and it's easy and convenient.
Hmm.
If I go one day, might be okay. If I go that second day, I'm going every day for a month. Like no doubt about it. I'm just getting
Okay.
Dunkin's. I'm spending the money, and then if I come home, at some point like to get dinner, and I get takeout, then I'm gonna want takeout every night, just as far as my future can see.
Yeah.
And I just went through a phase like that where I was just eating a bunch of takeout, getting Dunkin's, and another thing is like if I decide, okay, I'm going to drink right now, then every like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm having multiple beers. And it's not like one and then none. I'm all or nothing kind of person. So
Yeah.
I can relate in that sense. I've had to set in rules. I told you about my fast food and soda. I don't ever let myself have like McDonald's, Burger King, or Wendy's. And I don't let myself have soda because the second I do that, I'm going every day. There's no, it's all or nothing. So
Right.
I can totally relate in that sense of that. So I have to set up those rules for myself too, because if I don't, it's mayhem. But if I allow myself like a cheat day, and I know that I have like one day where I can go nuts, I'm fine and I can keep it at that if that's part of my plan. Not let me go grab Dunkin's today. If it's like my one day, I can keep that.
Right. Okay. No, that makes sense. It's and I am going to have a little bit of a cheat. I don't know if we talked about this on the other episodes, but have you heard of like New Haven Pizza? How they have like three or four like the best pizza places in the country on this one street in New Haven, Connecticut.
So you told me about that last time you were on about
Okay,
that.
yeah,
So
I'm
yeah,
I'm I'm going not this week, but next week for my birthday. I'm gonna go to Sally's and
that's great.
fucking destroy it. Um, oh, I'm so happy. But it's yeah, it's weird. You don't like having coffee, or you just don't like paying for it?
No, it's not the coffee, it's the food. I'm like, give me a bacon, egg, and cheese, hash browns,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
that. I just start adding, and I'm like, you know what? Also throw in a wake up wrap, throw in this, and I'm just like destroying it.
Oh my,
Um,
yeah. That right when I was, 'cause every time like it's sort of like I hit fat rock bottom almost. Like when I like whenever like I've lost a bunch of weight before, the month or two before I decide to do it is like not good. And I remember like I went through a period over the last few weeks before I started losing weight where I would just go buy a box of like 25 munchkins and just fucking pop them all night.
damn.
Oh, and it was the best. It's
Yeah.
fucking it's delicious, but it's not good.
Yeah, when you talk about looking at stuff positive or negative, I find that I've always thought. So you said that when you have a situation, your first thought is worst case scenario,
100% all
essentially.
the time. Yeah,
So
it's always bad.
I've always noticed that I kind of look at the positive thing. I think of the worst thing, and it gives me a bunch of anxiety. This is what had happened in the past. And
Hmm.
I'd be like, I would think that, and I go, no, what's the best outcome is this? And I would shift it to that. So to like answer that, when something does happen, I really do think, oh my God, this could be bad. But then my brain goes, you got to look at it positive. And sometimes that's easy, and sometimes it's really fucking hard. But I think it's important to maintain. Even if it takes a few days to get there, or a week, or a month, or whatever, you got to be like, this can be good. Because otherwise, I mean, life will be that much harder, like realistically.
Oh, and yeah, it's not good at all for you. It's like like especially now that I'm starting to date again. I'm glad that I found this girl. And I need to learn to not talk about it on podcasts because like there's 4 years of the church with me. Love this one, and now we don't talk
Yeah.
anymore. But I like even with her, like if I send a text and like there's any part of it that's risky or like I'm being vulnerable, and they don't respond immediately, I'm like, well, like I'm just going back on Hinge now. I'm like, well, okay, gotta find a new one. I
Yeah.
ruined it. It's over. And I yeah, with that, with fucking work, everything like I always think everyone's mad and I think that like everything's over. And yeah, I wish I had, and it's weird because sometimes with like other people, I can see positives and say and tell them like, oh no, yeah, well, I know that sucks, but try this or whatever. And and I can see it, but with myself, I've always been a negative Nancy.
Yeah, that's a big thing that I learned and heard through meditation is if you have like a family member or a friend or something and they're going through something hard, you're always going to be there for them and be like, no, keep it up. You're going to get through this, that whole thing. And so many times when something happens to us ourselves, we're like, fuck you. You're a piece of shit. You can't do this. And it's like, why do we or would we ever treat ourselves like shit when you wouldn't do that to someone else you love? So that's
Yeah.
been like that was a big turning point for me too, because like you, I there was a period of time, early 20s, mid 20s, I thought that everyone just hated me all the time. Like I would go into a thing, we'd talk and laugh, and I'm like, oh my god, they hate me. Or I would be scared to send an email. I'd be like, can you do this? Do you think maybe kind of if you have the time, please, possibly?
Yep.
And it's all just in your head and you let it
Yeah.
go and you realize that no one even like gives a shit about you. You know what I mean? It's kind
Right.
of
Well,
it's depressing but freeing.
there's that, and that's 100. That's really true. But then it's also sometimes I see the way other people do things, and I'm like, really, you have the balls to do that, and like no one's mad. Like it's like Jesus Christ. Like, what?
Yeah.
Do you not see that you're bothering people? But it's like there's people, especially in LA, in the comedy world, or even any world in LA, who like I don't like the way they live their lives and how they do business, but they they just go for shit. It's like I'm envious of that. I'm envious
Right.
of like, well, let's just do it and see what happens, and we'll call this person and we'll do this, and I'll bug everybody and I'll send everybody a Facebook thing to please repost my GoFundMe. And
Right.
it's just like Jesus, like how do you don't you feel like I love that with Sebastian's line, like, aren't you embarrassed?
Yeah,
Like
right.
that's how I feel about almost everything. But it you do need to ask for help sometimes and go to people and it's something that I struggle with for sure.
It's definitely finding that line too of like what's annoying and what's acceptable and especially in any type of business that you're trying to like move up, at some point you're going to have to be like, hey, Bob, I was wondering if blah, blah, blah. But it's like to help get a promotion or the next job or like whatever the
Right.
person's doing.
How are you with money? Because even in like in comedy, like and I'm not gonna. It's not a problem, but I hosted an open mic in Providence, uh, a few couple weeks ago, and when I asked a host, and the owner said yeah, and that was great, and I would have done for free, and then the owner just offered that they paid for it, not a crazy amount of money, but like enough to pay for gas and like a dinner or something, and I was like cool, and
Mhm.
then when I hosted, she wasn't there and I didn't ask the bartender for anything, and I haven't messaged her. Like I messaged her to say thank you, but I haven't asked her for the money. Um, and like even without like just that's just an example, but even with like when I do consulting, I don't like asking for money, and like apparently like I've been talking to some people about what I charge and what I do, and they're like, you could charge a lot more for this. And I'm like, I don't. It's always made me uncomfortable. Like, how do you feel about asking for money?
Um, uh, Differently. So like that lady said she would pay you. So I would send a message saying thank you so much for the show. I appreciate you offering the money or whatever. I didn't expect that. Thank you. Let me know if you need my Venmo or whatever. Like
Yeah,
I would go about I yeah
it was like 3 weeks ago, so it's probably gone. But it probably isn't. I could. I mean, I just haven't seen her.
yeah
She
I would
she and I like she runs a great mic, and I probably shouldn't even said she because people will be able to figure it out. But she like it's a great mic. It's not like she stiffed me.
yeah.
I've had plenty of people stiff me. She just wasn't there that night, and I'm too much of a pussy to ask for it. But I it you're right. You should just assume I'd be like, hey, people get paid for what they do, and
Right.
you gotta have some balls.
Yeah, and you made me think because like when people work like a day job, they go in and we've all had this and do it and everything. And you go in the way society is set up, the person that owns the company or that is managing you or whatever says you're going to get $15 an hour. And then you just go, "Okay, 15." And every hour is 15. So then when people branch out and they decide to do something on their own, they're in the situation of saying, "Hey, I am expecting to receive this much money." And I think the reason why people have so much problem with that, and I have too, because your whole life you're being told you're just getting this. You just go and you go, "Okay, I do this, I do the job, I leave, I get that." And you're just being told constantly this. So then when all of a sudden, and if you haven't had money or anything like that, you know how much you need it and how hard it is to sometimes give up $20 or $10 or $5. So then when you're in the position and you're doing something and you're saying, "Okay, I'm going to charge for this," you get this guilt because you had not made money and you know what it's like. But if you're providing a service and you think it's fair and that you're doing a good job, you
Right.
should be able to charge what you think is correct and not feel like
Yeah.
a dick about it.
Oh, and it's it's hard. Yeah, you mean you gotta make money, and everyone has to survive and stuff, and but that the word guilt is exactly what it is. Like I don't like with consulting or any of that where people like ask me to like give them a price for something. I always go with a price, and then I always lower it when I make the decision. I'll be like, okay, I would normally charge 100 for that, but maybe I'll go with 80 to make it like, and
Yep.
then like meanwhile I could be charging two for it.
Mm-hmm.
And like the other weird part about it is sometimes with some people, like they would prefer it be a higher price. They don't think it's going to be worth it if it's too low.
Right.
So it's a weird. I don't like it. I like the freedom that I have, and I like what I'm doing, but there are aspects of having a day job where you go in for a certain amount of money. Like someone says, "Hey, today you're doing this," and you go, "Okay," and then you go do it, and then they give you the money, and then you go home and watch Netflix. Is appealing to me in some ways, and there is a lot more freedom, and I can take a day off if I needed to or wanted to, or go in at 10 instead of 9 or whatever. I could do whatever I want, but it's almost like, and maybe your listeners could relate to this, even if they do work for somebody, is like I'm in my early 30s. I'm gonna be 33 in next week. Jesus Christ. Um, but like I feel I was telling the girl that I'm seeing, I if you told me I was like 19, 20, like not physically, but like mentally, if you told me I was like 18 again, I would believe you. Like I don't feel like an adult.
Right.
I feel like I have some experiences over the last decade.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't really it's not like I don't feel like equipped to like run a life. Like I feel like it's just like, and that's what I kind of feel like with business. It's like I go in, I'm like, all right, what should we be doing today? And then I'm like, oh wait, I'm the one who's supposed to be deciding that.
Yeah.
And it's been tough for me. I'm better at it than I was, but I'm still not great. I'm still very bad.
But that's exactly what you said. It's that experience. Over time, I think you'll get better with it. Like, that's the whole point of
Hopefully.
life, is to just keep getting better at this stuff. And that's the dream, to be able to, in my opinion, like, is to be able to have the podcast and like be my boss of that. Do stand up. That's my thing. Like, I think that's for me personally, the society of the day job and all that stuff and the boss, like, it just, there's there's literally not 1% of it that is like for me. And that's a big reason to the pursuit of doing stand up and doing the podcast and putting in the time and all that shit, because it's like, we live one life, not to sound like a girl on a beach in LA, but we live one life, and why not go for the shit that you want to do,
Oh yeah. No, and I feel bad. I tried a joke about it once and people didn't like it because it was on an open mic. But like I miss aspects. Like some of my best friends came from my minimum wage jobs, and there was also like no. I mean, I wasn't supporting myself. It was basically pizza and DVD money. I lived at home, but I like those minimum wage jobs were like there's no stress. Someone tells you what to do. There's a part of my brain that likes that, but I'm sure like after like a week or two of working a 9 to 5 job where like I have to get up at like 7 in the morning and I have to fight traffic, and then some dude's an asshole at work, and I get a flat tire, and then I don't get home until 10 o'clock at night, and then I have to be up in 8 hours. Like I'm sure that in like practice I wouldn't like the whole picture, but the like the stressful part of like being like the boss, that part being taken away is appealing. So if someone
Right.
would like to come and run my own business, but not tell me what to do or when to do it, that would be great. That would be ideal.
So you just want a friend basically there to talk to when you
No,
don't want
I
to
don't
work.
need it to be. I don't want him to be a friend. I want him to get his. If someone's willing to be a free CEO, and run my business for me, and I could just eat snacks and play with myself, that would be awesome.
A free EO is what you're
Oh
looking
yeah,
for.
did you sign up for that what is it called, vaccine lottery?
Oh, of course, man.
Oh, yeah, I signed up for the day it came out. If I won $1 million, I would. I love people who say, "Oh, if I won the lottery, I would still work." And you're a comic, so I'm sure if you won the lottery, like you just put some money aside and be like a full time comic.
Yep.
But it if I won the lottery, I like comedy. I would still do comedy a little bit, but I wouldn't work ever again. Like not even a chance.
Yeah,
I
but
would.
you can't do that with $1 million
Right, a
anymore.
million bucks. Yeah, $1 million you can't. Well, it depends, I guess. It depends on how you want to live and whatever.
Yeah.
But I also I'm a big believer in like Cayman Islands, no taxes, live on the beach, not do shit, get high all day and
Yeah.
watch Family Guy.
Yeah.
Like I would immediately do that. I'm not somebody like I'm not quitting. I'm gonna be the same old person. Hell no. Like if I won $1 million, the first thing that would go would be my Twitter and Instagram account. Delete. Goodbye. I'm never talking to the internet again.
That's great. I would immediately open up a podcast studio.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what I would do, and
really?
just create
Where?
that. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, okay,
Probably.
well, yeah, $1 million isn't. Yeah, you're right. Is not like enough to
I would. Yeah.
live your life. I mean, but I'm talking like even if you won like the $1 billion prize, you would still be like, all right, let's get to work.
No. Like if I had $1 billion, I
Yeah,
would have to do stand up. Like I'm not
yeah,
even
no.
kidding. If I didn't have that, I don't think I would even be here.
Oh no. Oh well, stand up. Yeah, stand up's fun, and especially if you had no responsibilities money wise, and you could like, let's go get a place in New York, a place in LA, and
Yeah.
we'll just take the jet back and forth whenever I do want to do a spot, and you could be the only guy headlining for like a stadium, and they'll be like, oh, how much are you getting paid? 1,000, but I just want the spot. No, it doesn't matter. I have $1 billion.
That's great. Dude, so you recently so we were talking about doing this podcast, and then I saw that you met back up with Mr. Joey Diaz to
I did.
rekindle. I listened, and someone tweeted or something is what I got, and wanted to see how you guys were doing. And what was the story there? You guys connected, and
Yeah, some guy. I mean, Joey and I had talk. We still talk a few times a week. And I'm sure I was half expecting to just call right then, because the ears would be buzzing. Some guy on Twitter, a very nice person, wrote a great message, and it just said, "I was sad when the church was ending, but it's nice to see these guys healthy and happy." And they had like a screenshot of both of us looking skinnier and happier than we were
nice.
in LA. And I we had never talked about it about Joey have, and like I said, like we still talk a few times a week. There's zero bad blood between Joey and I. But I'm just not someone to ask to be on a podcast. So I would never ask to be on his podcast. And uh, when he called and asked if I wanted to do it, I thought it was going to be one episode. So the fact that it turned into two was pretty cool.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was great to talk to him.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure everyone must have loved that because you guys had that going for, you said 8 years, right?
Exactly
Yeah,
8 years.
that's amazing. Yeah, your relationship and everything is so inspiring to see because you went through so much together from the sounds of it. So much was happening. People saw stuff like you explained on and like just talking to all these different cool people and doing all the stars and all that stuff. But what I thought was really interesting and inspiring is how much shit was going on behind the scenes that people didn't see and that
Right.
stress in life and all that. And that was motivating for me personally because of like doing this podcast and stuff for years, and sometimes life is shitty at the time, but you have to just like keep doing it, and just hearing what you guys went through is super motivating. Like, and you never would have known. I thought that was so inspiring.
Yeah, it is motivating because like you asked me to do this podcast and I was out of town, so we had to push it back a week. And I even have people. It doesn't make sense to me, but I have people who pay me to consult for them, and then flake and don't show up to the meeting, and it's it's good to remember that like someone on Joey's level still gets people who cancel on them and don't show up, and it's uh it's just nice to know that like you're not alone, like oh you like oh someone just doesn't want to be on my podcast. But then, and I have no zero knowledge of this, but I would imagine maybe earlier on, maybe not now, but I would imagine within the 1,500 whatever episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience, whatever he's up to now, I would almost bet $1 million that I don't have that at least one person has completely flaked on him,
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
which is
Crazy.
crazy to think about.
I bet more than one.
Oh
I
yeah, no, I
truly
would too, but
do.
I was making it a safe bet. Um, and it's just yeah, it's we all go through the same stuff. Some stuff is easier. Like for me with comedy, I got to do a bunch of shows that in theory I shouldn't have. Um, but it's as shitty as it is, I think what we're learning more and more every day, and we've known this for a while. It wasn't the pandemic that did this, but like life and like everything included in it just isn't fair at all. Like we all know, like there's always people who, and I feel bad for them. There's just some people who just, I don't know if they're getting in their own way or they just happen to have the worst luck out of anyone in the world. Like one day their car breaks down, the next day they're fired, the next day their girlfriend breaks up with them, and it's they could be doing everything right, and sometimes like life is just shitty. Like that was one thing that I really learned in LA is I never really understood how people had like when you hear about people like running down the street naked or running or like yelling at people. I never really understood it. And then like there were days in LA where if like one person did something shitty to me, like I could be like, okay, today's
Yeah.
the day you take a trash